Welcome back and thanks for joining me here on the Modern Dodo's YouTube channel. I truly do appreciate anybody who shows up to see what I'm working on a weekly basis. So let's jump right into the week ahead, starting with Monday, March 8th. Things really do start to heat up in the soccer world, and as I mentioned last week, I'm going to spend a little less time touching on channel listings and start times because again, all of that can be found in a blog post. I call it what to watch each week on my website, www.themoderndodo.com. Again, channel listings, start times, even some matches that I don't cover here on my YouTube channel can all be found there. I also post out those schedules each and every morning via Twitter, Instagram. I even do a little bit of a sort of a quick hit, if you will, on TikTok. So you can check it all out. But what I wanted to talk about here was a little bit of an in-depth look at exactly how much things are heating up in the various soccer leagues around the world. So the first thing that we look at is what we've got on the docket for Monday. And with the NBA still on All-Star break, there's not a lot of headliners in the NHL. NFL, and of course Major League Baseball hasn't started back up yet. So it's all about the soccer world. And it starts in the Premier League, Chelsea versus Everton. What's going on here is both those teams are separated by a point in the standings for fourth place. And if you're looking at the Premier League table, fourth place means an automatic qualification for the Champions League next season. For those that don't watch a ton of international football or soccer, if you will, quite frankly, that's a ton of just cold hard cash when it comes to TV contracts for the Champions League, and it really impacts what sort of players you can go out and acquire and retain from year to year. So that's a huge matchup. As we look at these two teams, Everton started out on fire. I think through the first couple weeks of the season, they were at the top of the Premier League table. They've been up and down throughout the year. So they're red hot, and then they drop a few in a row, and then they're red hot again. They've really got to level things out. Chelsea invested a ton of money when you look at players like Timo Werner, who's had a tough start, Ziyech, Havertz, all of those guys are big investments for Chelsea, and it wasn't paying off, so they made a managerial change. They brought in Thomas Tuchel and absolutely have caught fire. I think they've won something like 5 straight home matches without giving up a goal, so they're climbing up the standings. This is going to be a big matchup on Monday. And we've got a big matchup over in Serie A as well. So it's going to be Inter Milan versus Atalanta, and they're separated. They're separated by a few points, but it's Atalanta really that matters in this one because they're just a point out of fourth place in the Serie A table. So they really need to get that win to make sure they qualify for the Champions League next year. Now, again, it's not do or die, but we're already in March here, so things really do heat up when you look at a schedule that ends early in the summer here. So that's going to be a big one for them. Inter, meanwhile, is in first place at the top of the table, so they obviously want to keep that going. They've got championship aspirations on the line that they want to enhance with a win on Monday. So two big matchups. I think a lot of times it's like, well, why would these be so important? They're happening arguably in the middle of a Monday afternoon. They're important for that reason. There is a lot on the line, both in terms of those domestic championship races as well as championship league spots and the cash that comes with it for next year. Speaking of the Champions League, it resumes on Tuesday. So there's 2 games at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. The first one is the one that maybe won't carry quite as much drama. So Dortmund is hosting Sevilla, and Dortmund does lead, I should say. Dortmund does lead 3-2. So all of the Champions League games this week are going to be second leg matchups. So when you talk about Dortmund leading 3-2, yes, they're up by a goal, but they also scored 3 away goals. And the tiebreak is away goals. So let's just say that Sevilla was able to win 1-0 on Tuesday. That would tie the aggregate at 3-3, but Dortmund would have scored 3 away goals and Sevilla would have scored 1. So Dortmund would sort of win that tiebreak. So to some degree, Dortmund leads by 2 goals, which is going to be tough for Sevilla to overcome, especially when at least I would consider that Dortmund's a little bit more talented. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting is we don't know if he was being preserved or if he got a little bit of an injury, but Erling Haaland for Dortmund did leave the matchup on Saturday, which of course was a derby in the Bundesliga versus Bayern Munich. He did leave at about the 60-minute mark after scoring 2 early goals. So that'll be something to watch. What you probably do want to watch on Tuesday is Juventus hosting FC Porto. So again, as we start looking at second leg matchups and what it means for the aggregate, it gets a little bit scary for Juventus because not only do they trail 2-1, but now they're coming back at home. So if they were to score and win 1-0 on Tuesday, obviously that would go 2-2 and it would swing the aggregate. But as soon as Porto gets on the board with another goal, they start to level things in terms of away goals. So for me, as I look at 2 different games to choose from on Tuesday, I'm going to be looking at Juventus. I, of course, want to watch Cristiano Ronaldo and see what they do against Porto. A lot on the line there. It's do or die for Juventus. On Wednesday, I hate to say it because I like to be excited. I invest my time and my resources in this channel. The last thing I want to do is come on here and say, maybe a little bit of a dud. But on Wednesday, the Champions League's matchups don't quite have as much to be desired. And I'm going to cover that in a little bit because I do want to focus on the positive. And the positive is that NCAA hoops tournaments begin. So it starts and all those matchups are still to be determined. There's still a lot of things going on for seeding right now. But on Wednesday, a lot of those conference tournaments do begin and there will be a lot on the line. So look at my social media postings because that's where I'll be talking about some of the big matchups every morning that you'll want to tune into. There probably won't be as many of those on Wednesday as it's a little bit of higher seeds getting the bye and it's some of the lower seeds matching up, but you will want to keep an eye on that. Now, back to those Champions League matchups that I promised. They both are happening at 3 p.m. and it's RB Leipzig, who I just sort of love to watch because they bring up a lot of great young talent, but they're at Liverpool and they're already 2-0 down in that matchup. So it's going to be tough for them to overcome a really, really talented and mature Liverpool team, despite the fact that Leipzig does have that good young talent. I hyped up in one of my earlier YouTube channel videos the matchup between Barcelona and PSG. It did sort of disappoint because PSG absolutely owned them in the first league. It was a 4-1 victory. That really takes some of the air out of the matchup later on this week for the second leg. But it may be worth tuning into if Messi can work some magic. As we jump into Thursday, first leg matchups in the round of 16 for the Europa League. So, again, because it's back in the first league, there's not quite as much on the line, but there's some really entertaining soccer to be played, and it starts at 12:55. There's 4 matchups at 12:55, the headliner being AC Milan at Manchester United. At 3 o'clock, there's 4 more matchups, and the one that I'll, of course, be watching is my Gunners, Arsenal, play at Olympiacos. So not only is that 2 really good clubs, but Olympiacos eliminated Arsenal from this tournament, actually in the round of 32 last year, 2-2 on aggregate. It was really sort of a heartbreaking end to the Europa League run, as Olympiacos was able to take advantage of and eliminate us late in that matchup. So they meet again. Revenge is on the line for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and the boys. They've got a chance to get revenge for last year, and it's a round later, so one step closer to the final. Later that night, the NBA does get back into full swing. I think they actually had started back up on like Wednesday, if I recall. Yeah, it was on Wednesday. But the big matchups start again on Thursday. So we've got the Celtics and the Nets, and then the Warriors and the Clippers. So again, if you catch both of those, you've got a chance to not only catch two great games, Celtics, Nets, a ton of talent, Warriors, Clippers likewise, but you also get that full TNT broadcast. So I think I'm going to tune into that. The other thing that you'll want to watch out, big day. I keep saying the other thing. The Players' Championship begins on Thursday. So check out my website for the schedule of that. It's 1 to 7 on the Golf Channel on Thursday and Friday, and then it switches over for Saturday and Sunday, and the times do switch up a little bit. So again, please check out www.themoderndodo.com. I take care to lay out the channel listings as well as the times for something like the Players' Championship. Not only does it continue on Friday, but those NCAA conference tournaments continue on Friday. The NBA is going to go head-to-head with the NHL later that evening because there's actually two really intriguing matchups. So it's sort of pick your poison. Do you want the hardwood action or do you want to check out the action on the ice? At 8 o'clock, it's the Nuggets and the Grizzlies on the court. At 9 o'clock, the Kings and the Avalanche. Again, an exciting Friday night, but things really do heat up once we move into the weekend. So the Premier League starts at 7:30. That's actually the biggest game on Saturday. I talked about Chelsea already, and what's on the line for them is they're hovering around that 4th spot. Leeds is hovering around that 7th spot, so they're going to be looking for Europa League qualification. They're battling against teams like Arsenal and Tottenham. I'm going to touch upon that a little bit. Teaser for Sunday, I'm going to touch on Arsenal and Tottenham. You can probably read the line between the lines as to what that means. But the Players' Championship continues on Saturday. And then at 7 p.m., there's a little bit of a you choose on the ice. So two big matchups. The Capitals and the Flyers, both of those teams were excellent clubs last year. They're off to a great start this year. They're loaded with talent. And then the Blackhawks and the Panthers. Don't sell any of them short. I think the Blackhawks rebuild is coming along a little bit quicker than we expected. And the Panthers have been a good team for a number of years now. They just haven't been able to get over that hump in the playoffs and really stamp themselves as a contender in the NHL. But they are a talented bunch, and they've been playing well this season. So you pick it on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, we get into a day of really a lot of excitement. So the NCAA conference tournaments conclude. Some of them wrap up on Saturday. For me, again, vested, go green. We really need it. That goes until Sunday. It goes late on Sunday. Earlier in the day, at 10:30, RB Leipzig plays Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. Leipzig, I touched on them a little bit earlier, full of young talent. They're actually second in the Bundesliga standings. For a little while on Saturday, before Der Klassiker and Bayern Munich beat Dortmund last Saturday, I should say, just to be clear, RB Leipzig was at the top of the Bundesliga table. So a huge accomplishment for that young squad. Obviously, they want to make a run this year while they've got the opportunity to do so. So they're just, I think, 2 points back on Bayern Munich as I'm recording this. And then Frankfurt's currently in the number 4 spot, and obviously they've got to hold on to that. So they can't afford to drop points, or they could fall out of Champions League spots. So you can see why I've jumped a little bit more in depth with a lot of these domestic tables, because things are really starting to heat up and points are at a premium as we begin to sort of round the corner towards the final stretch. Speaking of points at a premium, 12:30 on Sunday, the North London Derby. It is one of the most heated and hated rivalries in all of sports. Arsenal versus Tottenham, just 4 points separate the two. And not only that, they're both battling for Europa League qualification. Of course, historically, we'd rather have those teams battling at the top of the Premier League table, but sort of you take what you can get, and neither team wants to miss European soccer completely next year. So that's going to be a big matchup. I would expect the tackles to start flying early in that one. Mourinho's going to do his best to get under Arteta's skin early. I expect that one, especially with where we're at in the season and where both teams are at in the table, I expect that for that one to really be filled with that venom that we're used to for the North London Derby. So if you haven't watched it, be sure to check it out. You won't be disappointed. It's of course going to be competing a little bit with the Players' Championship from 1 to 6 on Sunday for the final rounds. And even more problematic, the Players' Championship competes with a 3:15 kickoff for West Ham at Manchester United. And West Ham may not have the name power of somebody like Arsenal or Tottenham, but West Ham's played extremely well this year. And they're, I believe, in the number 4 spot in the Premier League table. So they're competing for a Champions League spot. If you haven't taken a look recently, go look at the Premier League table. Like the 1 through 8 spots, which of course are European qualification, are absolutely packed with talented teams. And other than Man City starting to stretch their lead for the championship at the top of the table, everybody's really close. And points won or dropped every single week could have a critical impact. Speaking of critical impact, 6 p.m. on CBS. It's what we're all waiting for. We all know the stats about how many work hours are wasted around brackets being filled out. Those brackets are released on Sunday at 6 p.m. It's the selection show and bracket reveal. Again, 6 p.m. this Sunday on CBS, and then it all starts from there. Later that night, we've got a beautiful nightcap to wind down a beautiful week of sports TV viewing. At 9 p.m., the NBA, the Clippers, and the Pelicans. The Clippers have a great squad. The Pelicans have not only Zion, but they've got Lorenzo Ball. They've got a really good team. That one I would highly recommend checking it out. So, again, I am out of breath. I've had allergies this week, which makes it even quicker to talk through almost 20 minutes of uninterrupted sports TV coverage. So I'll simply end it at this. Have a phenomenal week. Stay safe, stay well, and enjoy your sports TV, whatever you choose to watch.